We don't have clickers. I think you better say put it down. I can mix it.
Hi everyone, we're going to begin Campus Council. You could. I'm Student Senate. My apologies. We will begin tonight's session of Student Senate. Before we go with the roll call, I just have a few announcements. I'm going to wait a few seconds for everyone to trickle in and get settled down. Yeah. Okay, so just a few notes that I have. The first one is tonight we don't have clickers. I forgot to pick them up. So we're going to do all the voting by hand. Sorry, swim season has started. I'm very forgetful and very tired. Yeah, Joshua. So yeah, no clickers tonight, so we're going to do all voting by hand. Dylan is going to record the votes, so if you guys can just operate on his cues when it comes to voting, that would be great. Number two is just an issue of accessibility. When people are talking, could everyone just refrain from the snaps, the desk taps, the clapping until the speaker is finished? It makes it difficult to follow what the speaker is saying or hear, so that's just an accessibility thing. I'll definitely chime in today if we keep getting little noises as people are talking, but just please wait until the speaker is finished. And then also, as someone's talking, it is not correct to raise your hand or like wave your name card, which by the way are the name, okay, they're still going around, cool. I do notice people based on like a hand basis, but like as someone's talking, I'm not gonna cue people to speak because that's just like not how things go. So just try not to like wave your name tag or raise your hand and wave it around as someone's talking because it's a bit distracting. Senator Stallings, you have a...
Hey, a good way to queue up when like someone's talking and you want to speak, and something that we did last time I was senator is that we would take our name cards and do this, so that it's not distracting and like there becomes like kind of a queue of some sorts of people who want to talk and like it's recognized. I don't know, maybe that could be something we do.
Yeah, I'm here for that. Just please don't like wave your hands or do that. Yeah, just please don't do that. So yeah, and I think those are all the notes that I have, but yeah, please keep, you guys are ridiculous. Please keep those few reminders in mind. All right, now we're gonna begin with the roll call. I have the paper. AC Welch.
Here.
Reverend President Becker.
Present.
Riley, VIPA.
Here.
VPSA Tombu. Treasurer Ercolani.
Here.
Assistant Treasurer Weber.
Also here.
Ace Chair Mystic. Services Coordinator Tibatamwa.
Here.
Concert Chair Christensen. Doc Logan. Senator Stallings.
Here.
Senator Christian.
Here.
Senator Moen.
Here.
Senator Vale.
Here.
Senator Gumidiala. Senator Jones.
Here.
Senator Lloyd.
Here.
Senator Zernig.
Here.
Senator Nieto.
Here.
Senator Cure.
Here.
Is it Cure or Cure? Okay, my apologies. Senator Cure. Senator McDowell.
Here.
Senator Herbert.
Here.
Senator Piedra Santa. Senator Collinger.
Here.
Senator Pierce.
Here.
Senator Knapp. Senator Knapp. Oh, thank you. Senator Timberwolf.
Here.
ACES Co-Director DeRoche. ACES Co-Director Coleman. ACES Outreach Coordinator Preston. Green Fund Co-Chair Hagenhauser. Technical Advisor Gould. CBS Delegate Maximilian Hill. SHIC Delegate Cheslak, my apologies. Scarlet and Black Delegate Lily Bulkey. Okay. Thank you all. Senator Finn. Could we get a mic down to Senator Lloyd?
Hello. To clarify, Temporary Senator Lezzy is here in place of Senator Jones.
Senator Jones?
Declan. Yeah.
Declan? Oh, okay, cool. Thank you
Just
for that
that's clear.
clarification. Okay, do we have that down? All right, now that roll call is done, we're going to move into the approval of the minutes. Can we get someone to second that? AC Welch? Oh, yeah, go for it.
I wasn't able to get the vote totals by person in the minutes in time for Campus Affairs Student Senate. My God. But I will. We can vote on them. You can vote on them with like under the condition that I add them in there if you like, because I'll just have them when I get them.
Okay, did someone second? Miles Becker. Okay, we're gonna vote on the approval of the minutes from the last campus council. So we're gonna vote by hand. Actually, no, sorry, we're gonna do all those in favor, all those opposed. All those in favor?
What point of information?
Yeah.
Are we voting with the stipulation that the vote totals will be added after we vote on them?
Yes. Thank you. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay, now we're gonna vote on the approval of the minutes. When you vote, can you guys just raise your hands nice and high so that Dylan can take note of that? So all those in favor with the approval of the minutes? Okay, all those opposed? All those opposed? No one is opposing. All those abstaining? no abstentions. Okay, that passes. The approval of the minutes have been approved. So now we're going to go into public comments, announcements, and additional events. Thank you. If anyone has any announcements, Senator Pierce.
Okay, so I put it on there obviously, but we are voting for the November midterm elections, and that's going to happen only October 16th in this room, JRC 101, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So it's a week from this Tuesday. This is our only opportunity to vote on campus, and we can still drive to the polls on the actual day of the election, but it is a mile from campus on November 6th. So I would not recommend that. I would definitely recommend voting this Tuesday. You can do same day registration, email me, hit me up, I can help you with that. And then the last day to register is probably around Tuesday or Wednesday this week. I talked to the county auditor, and that brings me to my next thing, which is this Tuesday we have Deidre DeGier, who is a candidate for Iowa Secretary of State, and she's going to be visiting campus to do sort of a last-ditch voter registration effort. And she is literally so awesome, really cool. She's worked so hard, and she's really good at hyping students up, so if you can stop by, we're going to be on second floor lobby of JRC, 4 p.m. this Tuesday. And then finally, this Friday, Rob Sand, the candidate for Iowa State Auditor, will also be visiting campus. I don't have a location on that yet, but hopefully will soon. So if you're interested, let me know. It's going to be from 12 to 1 this Friday. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Pierce. Do we have any other announcements? President Becker?
Okay, so it says on there the stipend ballot will go out on Monday. It's probably gonna be Tuesday. It'll go out soon. Yeah.
All right, AC Welch.
We didn't talk about the off-campus senator election already, did we? Okay, cool. So the runoff election to replace Assistant Treasurer Weber, the off-campus Senate seat tied, the two candidates tied. So they're going to have to run again this week, and we will hopefully have that position filled by next Student Senate.
Thank you. Do we have any other announcements, public comments, or events? Anything in the back? No? All right, seeing none, we're going to move into the agenda. So, with the things that we need to discuss. So number 4, we're going to get started with an ombuds discussion. So whoever is leading this discussion, can we get a mic?
I think they're not.
You want to? Okay,
We're from the Harvard negotiation meeting.
awesome. Yeah, you can have the floor. Do you mind just?
Yeah, is there like, where do you want us?
Oh, you can be up here.
Okay, cool, perfect. Is there a mic? Oh, that is a mic, yeah. I've always wanted to lean into one of these mics, and yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, I'm Michael Schaefer, and
I'm Noyson Gupta.
we go to Harvard Law, we're participating in the Harvard Negotiation and Mediation Clinical Program. And basically what that is a clinic where we work with real-world clients who have issues in the field of conflict management and dispute systems design. This semester, we're working with the Ombuds Office to do an independent assessment of the office. And what that looks like right now is gathering data from all the constituencies of the college, so students, staff, faculty, everybody, to sort of form the basis of our recommendations. And we're doing that on a confidential basis to make sure to maintain anonymity of the people we talk to and approach this as an unbiased third party. So we're just going to talk to you about the Ombuds Office for a little bit. How long are you here? Okay. Okay. Well, so just real quick, how many of you, just by show of hands, how many of you have heard of an Ombuds Office before? All right, cool. How many of you have heard of the Ombuds Office here? Okay, so a lot of you. How many of you know what the Ombuds Office does? Wow, so that's good. You guys are informed. That's fantastic. We're just going to start off by...
Yeah, I think Basically we've been going around and talking to various stakeholders on campus, as my partner was saying, faculty, staff, students, basically regarding sort of the sorts of disputes they have on campus, and the ways in which they use or would hope to use the Ombuds office, and if they have used the Ombuds office, how they felt that went. And so really today we want to, I guess, both of course introduce the project, which we have done, and as well sort of get into a discussion with you about some of the disputes that you experience maybe in your organization, some of the disagreements, and how maybe, the Ombuds office or other such offices could help in that regard. And so with that, we were hoping to, I guess, engage you with a few questions, maybe some discussion, sort of, again, regarding mostly the disputes that you have in your organizations, and the way you manage those, and how third parties could help with that.
So just, whoever raised your hand, what sort of disputes come up in your organizations? Anything, even if it's just in your student life.
Senator Stallings? Hi. Something I'm recently dealing with in several of my organizations are conversations surrounding race, and especially race and the classroom space, and kind of like the balance between open discussion and questioning, but simultaneously sensitivity and things like that.
Okay. So what does it look like when those conflicts come up?
Bad.
Bad. Okay. Yeah, I imagine. So sort of bad in what way?
So normally it's wow, I need to watch myself. So normally it's usually a conversation happening between two parties, usually people of color and not people of color, and like talking about how race should be discussed within a classroom space, and like how like this is a safe space, and like our campus is like kind of driven by the social justice mission, but simultaneously we are intellectuals, so that we should be able to talk about anything without having any regard of the consequences of what we talk about. So yeah.
Okay. So usually, individual sort of conflicts that come to a head over the issue of race.
Yes.
Yeah. So what other sorts of conflicts come up for you guys? Do you want to maybe just maybe we can take like a minute and you guys can just okay, go ahead.
Wait, is this for just like any conflict you've had on campus in regards to SGA?
We'd be interested in, I think, all of them.
Yeah, we'd be interested in all of them, but also specifically the sort of things that come up in your organizations or your role in the student government.
Okay. Well, going along the same lines as Senator Stallings, I think the athletic department at Grinnell College is somewhere where the Ombuds office or Ombuds in general could get involved more.
Okay.
I think there are a lot of issues revolving around inclusion, accessibility for not just students of color, or domestic students of color, but international students, or students from different socioeconomic backgrounds. Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the roles that the Ombuds office could play in these conflicts?
I think we could cancel a little bit more. Does anyone else have, thinking really to, I guess, the disputes that you have in your organization, thinking of any dispute? Yes, sir.
Can we get a mic to services chair to the Tumwa?
Well, this is sort of part of my job as well as like Quinn's and Amanda's, even Sayla. We lead committees that deal with budgets, and sometimes communicating the expectations of what a budget should look like when you apply for funding is complicated, to say the least. People have different expectations about that, and how do you navigate the way people understand what you need from them so that you can do your job just as well.
Okay. So when these conflicts come up, is it who are these conflicts between over budgetary issues?
It's students applying for funding usually.
Okay.
But they're also usually heads of their organizations, and SGA is sort of like an umbrella.
Okay.
Um,
So students applying to organizations interfacing with the SGA?
yes.
Okay, okay.
And so, what do you think might cause a disagreement regarding sort of financing? What sorts of controversies might come up?
Misunderstandings about the things we can fund and the things we will fund, and like philosophically, the principles we adhere to when we are funding things. Just because we can do something doesn't necessarily mean we will.
Right. So I guess you're sort of saying sort of the understanding of discretion that does exist in the range of that. Okay, maybe one more. Can anyone think of disagreements that have happened in their organization in the past? Listen.
At a previous organization I was in, not SGA, we used the Ombuds office for like conflict mediation and setting up like a procedure for future conflicts. Another thing with SGA, more specifically like a conflict that I think frequently occurs is just like general time management. It's like sometimes like a task will be delegated to a person and it's never like followed up on. And I think that's very frequent conflict just in dealing with people in general, but students in particular who have like a heavy workload and so sometimes don't follow up on tasks that are extracurricular.
So managing the tension between the commitments that they're taking on in their schoolwork. Why do you think that occurs? Is there just...
I think the nature of being at a place as demanding as Grinnell in terms of workload for classes, and then also I think any person who wants to get involved in a thing like student government really wants to commit themselves to as much as possible, even if it's an overcommitment. I think that's a relatively common thing that happens, but I don't know if it's like majorly impactful all the time.
Okay. Yeah. So we already started talking about a little bit where the Ombuds office could play a role in these conflicts. So we've talked a little bit about a couple different types of conflicts, but where do you guys think the Ombuds office could play or already is in playing a role in the issues that come up for you guys?
Can we get a mic to Senator Stallings, please?
Hi. So I know that the Ombuds office will assist students in not only organizational problems like conflict between, say, different kind of groups within an organization, but also between individuals, like individuals in like private disputes, like when it comes to like I don't know, something that's like personal between two people. So I think that like probably several levels of like interaction that the Ombuds office will interact with you.
Okay. So levels on both like the individual and more macro, like involved between groups on campus.
Okay. I guess to sort of add to this question as well, I think we're also curious about at what sorts of disagreements in your organization would you refer to the Ombuds office, and what sorts would you refer maybe to other offices on campus? Like, how do you feel the Ombuds office could help you in hypothetically or in actuality in managing a disagreement in your organization? Go ahead.
So currently as a member of a kind of a page that's very involved in discourse and like conversations which are incredibly difficult, I think that is like the Ombuds would be just the first resource that I would automatically kind of consider as like something that could help me, because it is just about having difficult conversations surrounding very sensitive topics, and yeah.
Another thing I think is worth noting, and not necessarily specifically in my case, but I think in other cases, is students really rely on a lot of faith in their peers in terms of the conflict mediation. And so I think oftentimes Ombuds might not.
It's still on, but it's just...
Oh, wait, there we go. Or not sensitive. but I think oftentimes students would rather interact with certain peers to have them mediate these conversations because they already have that fundamental like interpersonal relationship that they might not already have with ombuds, and I think sometimes, yeah.
So, any other times you guys would refer to the ombuds office or to other discussion mechanisms on campus when conflicts come up?
Or indeed, we'll keep it limited to peer-to-peer interactions. I think we're looking at sort of the universe of, as organizational leaders, what sorts of mechanisms do you use to try to mediate disagreements in your organizations? And it could be both, hypothetical, actual, so, hypothetically, if two individuals in your organization were to have some disagreement maybe regarding work allocation, something like that.
Or maybe we could just break it up for a second. Yeah. If you guys want to take a minute and just talk to the person next to you about when you think it's appropriate to refer to something to the ombuds office. So we'll just sort of reconvene in a minute. That sound good?
For the sake of time, I'm going to give this discussion a 1 minute and 30-second time limit. So if you guys could all discuss for that, and then come back to the main group. All right, we're gonna wrap up discussion. Senator Pedro Santa, do you have a question for do you mind speaking into the mic? Thank you.
Hello? Hello. Just for, I guess, for clarification, because this seems like an important and interesting discussion. What's your outcome? What are you trying to get out of asking this, just so we kind of know what direction? Because I'm trying to help you guys out, but I guess I don't know how to frame my answer. Because I've had experience going to the Ombuds office for incidences. Is that something, I'm not going to share personal information, but is that something you're interested in, or just for clarification?
I think absolutely interested.
Hello?
I think certainly we're interested in any interactions where individuals are sort of using the Ombuds office, but I think that what this question is sort of getting at is how the Ombuds office sort of exists in a universe of sort of dispute resolution mechanisms, or sort of mechanisms that can sort of mechanisms that can sort of help you folks out in your organizations. And so I think that we're trying to get at how you guys would use your discretion as organizational leaders to sort of decide where to take a disagreement, whether you keep that peer-to-peer, whether you'd use the Ombuds office, whether you'd use something like the Diversity and Inclusion office or something, and why you do that, and basically getting at that discretion, basically.
Ace Chair Mystic?
Thank you, Lana. So I was thinking about, I think one space, I guess, in the institution of Grinnell that I guess the Ombuds office could be in as like a mediator is in spaces that are like in between students and administrators. I think that one thing that a lot of students at Grinnell always talk about is how we don't really have trust and good, I guess, effective conversations with administrators just from the students' perspective. And I think administrators probably say that behind our backs too. So, you know, I think that that would be a really good space. Where those spaces are, I guess, would be SGA, SAC, other spaces I can't really think of right now, but those places.
So by spaces, you mean sort of settings where students and faculty or administrators interface? Okay.
Yeah, when they have like those conversations about, you know, just like where student representatives are. So like there's like the harm reduction committee. There's like different committees that they have where students are on and faculty are on and whatever, whoever administrators are on. Those places where like oftentimes administrators like do things that we don't want them to, and so like that would be a good space to like be like, well, hey, like, you know, students also have a voice and we also are stakeholders, and we also are going to be donating money after we graduate, so like you need to listen to what we say.
Yeah. So,
Point of privilege, could we please get a mic to the front, to me?
Oh.
Thank you. Our one died, so.
okay. Ooh, never heard my voice on microphone before. All right. So, was there any other hands for that question? Thank you so much, by the way. Yeah, go ahead.
Something else. How, like, I don't know how aware faculty or staff are of the Ombuds office and when an incident falls in the jurisdiction of the Ombud. Personal experience, it took maybe a year after my incident for someone to refer me to the Ombuds office, and by that time the Ombud couldn't really do a whole lot in regards to help mediate that issue. So I feel like in spaces in, I don't know if I want to say faculty training, but just more awareness or outreach within faculty, just so that they could like have more resources for assistance, because I guess that time I was only a second year, so I didn't really know what was going on. So yeah, that was just.
So if the faculty understood a little bit more when the Ombuds office is appropriate, so that it could be better integrated. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Anybody else on this?
Can we get a mic to VP?
Kind of want to just walk
Thank
around.
you.
Yeah, we were talking about like situations in which there's a conflict with like a student organization leader. Like if somebody had like a conflict with Miles or like the student government president, then like finding using the Ombuds as like an alternative authority. Same thing with like situations with professors. If there's some sort of problem where you don't want to approach the professor because like they are the department chair, something like that. Turning to the Ombuds as like the alternative and like third party person who can work something out.
So where there's the power dynamic and you can sort of step outside of that power dynamic. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Senator Stallings.
Hi. I also think that it's just really beneficial to acknowledge that Ombuds is independent resource, so like it's independent of the college and its intentions and missions. So like that makes it a really kind of welcoming space to talk about really difficult things. Yeah.
So I think we're going to put it back to the original. Yeah, okay. So all of you guys seemed very aware of the Ombuds office and what it does. So just sort of broadly asking, where did you learn about the Ombuds office? How were you made aware of it?
Hi. So through CA training, actually, so like our equivalent of RAs, we learned about the Ombuds office as a resource that we could use to like help students in difficult situations.
Okay.
I learned about it during NSO, which is like the new student orientation.
Okay.
Also, in the bathroom stalls, it has kind of like a different, like a resource contact list of like places that you can go to for confidential or like help if you need it. And one of the resources is ombuds.
Can we get a mic to Ace Chair Mystic, please? Thank you.
Hello. I was gonna say, like, overall, most of the people who are in this room have like been trained in either CA stuff, SG, being in SGA, like, we're either mandatory ACEs. We've all like pretty much gotten trained for something, and a lot of student leadership, at least on campus, gets trained for something. In terms of anything, but at one point we would have been exposed to like ombuds as a resource that you can use.
Yeah.
But like that's just like that's like pretty much the people in this room, and so like I guess the question is, how do we make it accessible to all students, like even the students who don't really care about this type of stuff, you know, but still might need to use ombuds for, you know, whatever conflict resolution or whatever it is that they need.
So how do you think people outside this room, how do you think they do hear about the Ombuds office, or how they could hear about the Ombuds office?
When they get in trouble?
When they hear, okay.
I don't know. I'm not one of those people, so I don't. Sorry, I didn't know that.
I think that they largely don't hear about it. I've definitely talked to other people that have legitimately no idea about ombuds, like what ombuds is, like has never heard of it, things like that. And yeah, I think that's probably the core of the problem that you're trying to get at right now.
So I guess to build on that a bit, that some other students outside of these leadership roles haven't heard of the Ombuds office. Are you folks able to think of any sort of good means by which those students can be reached, sort of in terms of like an orientation that they're doing or what have you, so to speak?
Other than NSO and bathroom stalls.
Can we get a mic to Senator Zernig, please?
Hi. It just occurs to me that even though I am aware of the Ombuds office and I know what they do, I can't really put any person to that or any people. I don't have people associated with that. I think of it as an office. And I've never utilized it as a resource, but I imagine for other students who are even further removed from that resource and have less access to it, having some sort of outreach that involved people who were from the Ombuds office and having those people talk about it would be useful in making that connection between a resource that exists, okay, but also there are real people who work here who are part of that resource.
So giving it a human face.
Yeah.
Hello. I think a really simple thing that could be done is just like a campus-wide email, just saying, hey, this is a resource, come see us if you want to come talk to us. Just a really simple thing that could be done.
Any other thoughts on this in terms of how the broader student body could be reached? I guess one thing I think about with Ombuds in particular is that it's on like the GRC third floor, which I don't think a lot of students use, and it's kind of tucked away, which I know serves the advantage of having a more confidential space. But like I don't know, at SGA sometimes we try to do things in our office space that are outreach things that we sort of try to attract students upstairs, like we're on the second floor, and so trying to bring students up and come into the space and interact with the people, something like that. Like we've done like. We're talking about doing like a pancake party thing on like one morning. Like people do, like there's been things that I guess like called like a cafe disco sort of style thing, that it's turning it into a sort of fun space for an afternoon or evening. Right, and I guess to build off that as well, you say that students don't tend to use the JLC third floor that much. Are there buildings and spaces which they tend to use a great deal?
I think JRC is super popular. I just think third floor is like the home of like DSA, like the Ombuds office, and then like the voice box. I think a lot of students like have the association of like you go up there when you're in trouble. Like that's why a lot of people go to the Division of Student Affairs, is like for not great reasons. And so as much as I think it is like useful and accessible, I think there is just sort of a natural hurdle to the proximity of the other offices there.
So the floor, I guess, can feel perhaps even a bit intimidating to folks to actually go up there because it's almost an admission that there's some issue or what have you that.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Can we get a mic down, please? Thank you.
I think another perhaps problem is that there needs to be like a general maybe reframing of ombuds as a resource, because I know that my impression of ombuds outside of the training that I got was that you go to ombuds when it's like your last option and your last resource. Like I often associated like Title IX cases and like bias incidents and things like that I may experience as a college student with the ombuds office, and not something that perhaps doesn't seem as legitimate of an issue, you know?
And so why do you think that impression has been created? What's creating that, do you think?
I think it has there's several reasons why that is. One of them is that it's a confidential resource, and I think those are few and far between compared to the number of resources that we have here on campus. And also, it's just that it offers so many features, like for example, the independence that it has from the college, which are especially kind of lucrative to people who may be in those situations. So I think that it's just been framed as like, if you feel like you have nowhere to turn, you can come here.
So I guess coming to more, an educational aspect of the office and dispute resolution more broadly, I remember was it Mr. Becker who said that the Ombuds office assisted with the mediation program with the organization. I was wondering, could you speak a little more to that before we begin this next question?
Specifically, like the mediation experiences that I've had there, or that I've seen organizations go to, or
actually, I'd be interested to know that. Yeah. Or really, how the Ombuds office has sort of assisted you, I guess, in mediation matters.
You don't have to be specific.
Yeah.
okay.
Miles, do you want to tell them about getting to Yes, the thing we did?
I mean, that's a great idea. They came in and trained the student government cabinet in, there was a variety of workshops that were offered, one of them being getting to Yes and kind of that mediation process and how you can kind of achieve an end goal and discussions like that. I think we found that incredibly useful. I think prior to that specific experience, aside from being alerted of it as a resource, I don't think I ever had like an extensive use or extensive interaction with the Ombuds office here. But that prompted me to recommend that in several other scenarios as people came to me with issues as a possible mediation resource on campus. And so since then, that would have been at the beginning of the semester. I think I've offered it at least twice in 2 different scenarios for individuals or organizations that were dealing with internal conflict and helping them achieve resolution.
And so what did you find helpful about that training and process?
I think the training itself, I think I've mediated issues like this previously, and I've been in situations that have needed to be mediated, and I felt that I myself understood kind of all like the finer components to these conversations. And I think there was a lot that I realized I didn't know, and I think a lot of understanding from beyond your own specific position. I think sometimes it's difficult to put yourself in other people's shoes based on differing identities within like the 2 parties, among other factors. I think in terms of reasoning as to why I've then subsequently recommended that students or organizations go to ombuds is that the amount of, I think, pose and professionalism that I've seen from the ombuds person here at Grinnell, I think leads me to be quite certain of her ability to help people reach these resolutions in sometimes very, very difficult conversations.
Interesting. Could you speak more to that feeling of professionalism? What do you think drives that?
I think it's hard. I think it's the semblance of different components of an interaction that kind of have led me to that belief. Outside of that specific conversation, that conversation extended into a specific issue that we as a cabinet were dealing with. And I think the examples and ideas that she offered were incredibly valuable. And I think at that point in time, we were very emotionally tied to the issue we were working with. I think we were incredibly passionate about it. And she was able to kind of take us collectively as a group to kind of step back and analyze how best to approach this issue. I think that we found that quite valuable.
So is there any other comment maybe on the mediation training that was done, or?
I'm sort of curious about just real quick, again, to do a show of hands things. How many of you guys have been at one of these workshops that the Ombuds office puts on? Okay, so it's a little smaller. Okay. What setting what setting? 5 minutes. Okay. Well, okay. I think we want to leave time to make sure that see if they have any questions for us, and then give out our contact information. So does anyone have any questions for us?
Do you feel capable of reaching out to the student body? Is that that's something that I'd be happy to work with you moving forward as you're here for the next couple of days to make sure that people are aware that you're here and help you guys.
We would love that. Yeah.
Information.
Fantastic. Yeah. Are there other questions? Okay. Yeah.
What is your in a respectful way, what is your purpose here? Who are you and what are you doing here?
We're just a third party that the Ombuds office wanted to bring in to do a sort of 5-year assessment to see how things are going and the state of awareness and conflict resolution on campus.
It is a stock-taking and moving forward exercise, sort of how the Ombuds office has performed and areas which it can grow, potential improvements, and also understanding. Yes.
Can I comment for a second?
Yeah.
Could we get a mic to the back, please? Oh, it's just for accessibility reasons.
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I'm the student supervisor at Harvard Law School. We're really, really grateful for your time today. We've learned a lot already, and we hope that we can connect with you guys over the next couple of days that we're here. Just in terms of framing the project more broadly, this is an initiative, as Roy and Michael said, that the Ombuds office asked us to engage in. And Roy and Michael are students at the law school, and they are working with me and with Chinyeri, the Ombuds person, to assess kind of how the Ombuds is doing. Whether it's serving Grinnell, students, faculty, and staff, and how it can serve the community better. So that's the purpose of our project more broadly, and we are here for just tonight, tomorrow, and Tuesday morning to kind of learn about Grinnell and get a sense of the campus so far, and just learn from all of you. So Michael and Roy will share more about what we're doing here and how you can get in touch with us further.
Thank you.
So yeah, if you want to get in touch with us further, we can we leave our emails with somebody,
Yeah,
or should I just speak them into the minutes? What?
And they'll be recorded in the minutes, and Dylan can distribute that to anyone with.
So mine's M Schaefer, MSHAFER .JD19 @HLSclinics.org.
Mine would be Arsen Gupta, RSENGUPTA .JD19 @HLSclinics.org.
So if any of you want to get in touch with us, we've been doing confidential interviews, and to be clear, by confidential we mean we're not going to attribute any of your responses to you, and we really want to hear from the students. So if you or anyone you know wants to get in touch with us to talk about the Ombuds office, we would very much love to hear from you. And if you have any advice of who we should talk to or how to reach these people while we're here, we would love to hear that. Cool. So I think.
All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, table. Yeah, we're gonna have a table in the JRC tomorrow from 11 to 1, either sort of by the tabling space, which is near the front door, as I understand it, or in the email lounge. That's how it was described to me. But we will have a table in the JRC tomorrow. Sorry, I don't have the exact names of these places. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to let us speak to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and that presentation. I encourage everyone to give some feedback to the emails that Dylan recorded into the minutes. This is a super important topic that affects student life on campus. So thank you. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, we have the ACE budgets. So ACE Chair Mystic, I have an extra microphone.
Hello. Y'all, I'm sick again. I'm so mad. Anyways, so we had 4 budgets today. Spring Awakening Day came last week, as you guys probably remember. But we had deferred them to DOC to get funding, but we then decided to come back to ACE and fund the rest of it. So that's what that is. So it's the same thing twice, but not because we're funding different things. Anyways, the GUM open mic night, we funded just some food for them, appetizers from Chong. ISO Rave, which is happening this Saturday, they just wanted some funding for, glow sticks, pizza, also they're getting hypoallergenic stickers, glow-in-the-dark stickers, which seem really cool and interesting. Post-grad prep. That is just an event that's going to be hosted by myself and Kyle Lindsay, another student, another 4th year. We're going to try and have like a post-grad working session specifically geared towards like different MLC groups and just have like a sit-down time for students to do work. And that budget was for snacks and pizza. Also, it's not listed on there. We had 2 emergency budgets this past week, 2 pizza orders for, the Gardner after party to Boyd, Illinois, and Kendrick Gardner. So that was what those 2 emergency budgets went to, just want to let you know. All right, any questions?
Do we have any comments or questions on the ACE budgets? Seeing none, thank you, ACE Chair Mystic. We're going to move on to the next item on, none of those needed voting, right? No, they didn't. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Spc and Services Budget. So if we could get a mic to Services Chair Tivitamala or Treasurer Ercolani.
Services Coordinator Tivitamala was traveling today, and so I was leading committee today. It was wonderful. Really happy to see everybody. But we had 3 budgets for student programming, and Cricket Club unfortunately could not make it, and so we had SACNAS's trip to the Science, Technology, and Engineering and Mathematics Conference, Diversity in STEM Conference, and the Extreme Society trip, which was tabled for next week. The SACNAS trip was just asking for funding for Grinnell College transportation, and the rest of the costs of their travel to the conference were being covered otherwise. And the Extreme Society trip was their fall break trip. However, the committee decided that it wasn't specific enough, and the numbers didn't actually match up with what we were able to find. So we asked that they come back to committee next week. However, we had been informed that they were going to come here tonight and appeal the decision to table. So is there a representative from the Extreme Society here to present the budget? All right. then we don't even need to vote on this. They didn't come, they'll have to just show up to committee next week and expect to see a budget being presented next week for over $1,000 for the Extreme Society fall trip that will need confirmation again here in the Senate. If there's nobody here for Extreme Society, we're not going to vote on their budget. Like, they need to be here to appeal.
Okay. So is that all the SPC and services budgets?
Oh, the services budget is the class ambassador community meal. The reason there's a difference between the requested amount and the allocated amount is because there was a mathematics error in their budget. It actually came out to $349 instead of $459. Other than that, they got funding for everything they asked for. It's going to be standard at Davis Elementary. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything further to add on the presentation of these budgets? Seeing that we don't need to vote on any of them, we are going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the How Are Things Going survey. So, President Becker, if you'd like to present that.
So Kate Wilcox reached out to me. She is the one running the survey. They conducted the survey last fall and saw a 67% voter turnout, or not voter turnout, just turnout. Their goal is 70% for this fall. So for context, everyone should have received an email with a little form in it. It's a one-question form. It says, how are things going? And it's they give you like 4 or 5 options where it's like from fantastic to not so good. And so it's just one question, just one response. It's helpful to them. So if you could take a moment, search that phrase in your inbox, see if you got it, and respond to that real quick. I know they'd appreciate that a lot. I think last I checked on Thursday, they were 220 responses away from 70%. So I told them I'd mention it here. If you can mention it to your friends. I know Cabinet has all done it at this point. So it was a request from administration to us. And so now passing that along to you as student leaders on campus to spread that around to your respective constituencies and friend groups and whatnot. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on this topic? Senator Stallings.
Hi. It's really important that we talk to our friends about this because I think that we make up a certain population of Grinnell, and like the more that we talk to other people about it, the more representative kind of they're gonna have of their answers that it'll be of our actual campus. So like really talk to people about it. It matters. You answer it from your email. You don't even have to get directed to another link. It's like really convenient.
Is Chair Mystic?
Also, once you fill it out, it gives you a whole bunch of resources. That's why I said that earlier. Sorry, guys. But no, there's like a whole bunch of resources available, so I think it would be really great for other students who don't really know what these are.
Any further comments, questions, concerns on this topic? No, seeing none, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a discussion on the use of harmful language in the classroom. So could we get a mic to whoever is leading this discussion? Senator Stallings, will you be presenting this? Can we just get a mic to whoever? Okay, AC Welch.
I put it on the agenda at Salah's request on your behalf.
All right, everything's clear now. Was not prepared for this. Basically, I wanted to bring kind of to our attention as a group of people that I've really come to respect in my time here, just talking about kind of what's happening in our online communities and how that's impacting what's happening in our real communities, like the kind of everyday. As you may or may not know, I am the moderator for the illustrious group Grinnell Thumbs Down. And I have a lot to say about that, and that's an entirely different conversation. If you want to have it after, let me know. But basically, this all came from like the most recent kind of mess, came from a discussion about harmful language happening in the classroom and like how to have conversations about that. There was an S&B article about it and whatnot. And I've been having some conversations with Cabinet about, one, how do we even address issues of like a professor saying the N-word in class? And two, how do we address like kind of the issues and the bubbling over in the online communities, which we have come to really really participate in as a community at Grinnell. I really don't have much more to say than that because I'm kind of lost in all of this. I've mostly just muted all of these groups, including the one that I moderate. So I'm just bringing it to your attention, and as we try to figure out kind of some solutions to these problems.
Can we please get a mic to H. Mystic? Thank you.
Going back and forth. It is exhausting to do this. No, life in Grinnell is exhausting. Anyway, so I don't know. I think for me with this discussion, I would love to like have people, I guess, voice what their concerns are about this and like get, I guess, space for students who maybe haven't really had the space to talk about it, especially, you know, seeing as all of us go to school. And so like all of us are in a classroom, and so like all of us probably don't want our professors like being assholes in class. Excuse my language. So and it doesn't really, it's not limited to like racial things. It's all of the things. So I don't know. For me, as like a person who's probably going to be a teacher in the next few months, I'm just really concerned about how we make places for education, which is the purpose of us being here in the first place, and like, you know, making those spaces safe. So.
Do we have any comments? Can we please get a mic to Senator Herbert?
So I was in the class that this whole conversation has started up around, and I know that everyone was like a big topic of conversation that happened outside of class afterwards is what do you do, like who do you go to, who do you report this to, especially because this professor was not a part of a specific department, and figuring out what the line of the chain of command would be. That was a big topic of conversation, and also like the concern of retaliation. Not just about grades, but also what's the classroom going to be like afterwards if you go forward to someone, things like that. So.
I think honestly this conversation is pretty aimless right now, and I apologize for that, but I think it's only aimless because this is something that we really haven't dealt with on our campus before. I personally don't have a lot of insight as to what's happening right now, but I'm getting, like, let me just kind of put some perspective on this situation. I'm getting 10 to 20 messages from alums from Grinnell every day, all right, about talking about Grinnell Thumbs Down and other online communities, for example. And I'm getting messages from current students, I'm getting messages from people on both sides of an issue, and like, I just don't know what to do. And like, as a person that didn't sign up for this responsibility but now feels obligated to carry it, I'm just wondering what you guys think.
Can we get a mic to Senator Zama? Senator, you know, the substitute for Senator Jones. Just click it on the side.
I think if we're going to try and like solve the issue or trying to figure out what language is useful and isn't useful or what should be said and not said inside the classroom, I think we should first start by talking to the leaders of the classroom, which are those professors, and hear from them what they think the guidelines are for what they can and can't say, and what we are and are not comfortable with, or what they're comfortable or not comfortable with saying in classrooms. Because ultimately, while we are in them, while we occupy the classrooms, we don't like steer them. Like they're not really ours, if that makes sense. So like kind of like a top-down thing, maybe.
Can we get a Senator Collinger?
I feel like the professor evaluations are always very important, but it's always at the end of the course. And sometimes you don't always remember the things that happened, and maybe there could be more of a evaluation midway through to kind of assess like how is the professor doing currently, because it does kind of make or break a classroom, I would say. So.
Senator Pedro Santo?
Maybe it doesn't matter, but in what context did this like come up? Was it read? Was it said? Was it addressed to a student?
Ace Chair Mystic.
Well, it was early 8 a.m. morning. And no, I mean, okay, so we were discussing diversity. We had just done a questionnaire about how diverse are you. And so that was kind of where the conversation was going. We're talking about things that like are understood, I guess, now. And so she basically was like, you know, we know all the things that we're not supposed to say, all the words that we're not supposed to say, and then proceeded to say them. And all of them, I'm not just, like, it wasn't just the N-word, it was, like, she was spitting bars of, yeah, racial epithets. Yeah.
So,
go for it.
So, similar incident happened in one of my classes last year, and what we did was we went to the ombuds office, and that was a really helpful resource. We also talked to the Dean of Student Affairs, and we filed a secondary report, and it was on the condition that the professor would be talked to by the Dean of Diversity, Dean of Diversity, I think that's her title. The one that Lakeisha was, that one. And then we also talked to the chair of the department. And if the students feel comfortable and we felt comfortable, we also talked to the professor. And this happened multiple times after bringing the discussion up. So it just escalated into different sections, but that's how we started it off, yeah.
Ace Chair Mystic.
So a few things. One thing is that this particular professor was or is, to my knowledge, a trustee. And this was also a short course. So the course is already over. The course is already over. Sis is gone. But I'm not even going to put her credentials out there. I'm not going to do that to her. But another thing I think that I could probably mention from, I guess, discussions that SGA has had with DSA in our bi-weekly meeting, we did talk about working with the dean, like the academic dean, Mike Latham, and like talking about how we can intervene in that space that is clearly there for teachers or professors who are not really a part of our community. Not saying that they're not a part of the community, but they're not here for a long time, you know. So, but we do know or got information that there is like some form of training workshop that is going to be for all teachers in the spring, professors in the spring. So yeah.
VP Murphy.
Yeah, just for more similar information, over the summer faculty went through an inclusivity training. I don't know whether or not this professor in particular was part of that, given that she's a trustee primarily and teaching a short course. I did talk with Dean Latham this weekend about the possible rolling out of some sort of training that would occur, like that would be for like professors who may come in like halfway through the year or like after you sort of training, something that's like video or like an online something, so that it could be a standard requirement for all professors, regardless of if you're able to be physically on campus for the training that happens in the spring or any time else in the future. So hopefully we'll have updates on that, and I'll tell you all if there are.
Thank you, Senator Herbert.
So just for this particular circumstance, I talked to people from ICA, Intercultural Affairs, and the replacement for Lakeisha for this semester, Leslie. So I don't know if anything has come of that, but people have been notified and like steps have been taken.
Treasurer Ercolani. Do you mind raising your hand as well?
Sorry, yeah.
Thank you.
Very distracted, I apologize. Just want to add, front page of the S&B last week was an article about this If y'all want to read it, feel free. Wonderful. Catherine's quoted in it. She gave an interview to the S&B. It's good stuff.
Senator Stallings?
Yeah, I guess how I want to finish up this portion of the conversation that I was having with Sayla about this is I think that I wanted you guys to consider moving forward, like, does SGA have a position, or should it have a position in our online communities? Because talking with other moderators of groups, it's like a very real and impactful thing. I quite literally filter through messages from parents and prospective students asking what's so thumbs down about Grinnell. Like, so this is a very, very impactful thing. And I just want to know that if you guys think that as a student government association that we should have some role in this situation in our online communities, if we should have a stance, if we should be actors in some capacity, I'm not sure. But just something to keep on your minds.
AC Welch?
I don't know how much I think personally that SGA needs to be specifically involved in online groups, Facebook groups, but I think that definitely there should be like an acknowledgement that people who moderate these online groups have like very real like authority and I guess like power over like students' attitudes at Grinnell because they exist in like a powerful position and something that like affects student life here. And so I don't know, I think if anything, just like giving as many resources to people who run these pages as possible so that they feel like they can do that.
Councilor Chair Christensen?
Yeah, just in response to you, Carrie, like directly asking like what, you know, our opinions are on this. I don't think you should be having to deal with like parents and prospective students and alumni. I think like I know you feel like you have an obligation to care about this and I understand that and I deeply respect it, but also you're a student here and you have a lot going on and you should just tell people like go to freaking admissions and ask them these questions because like that is literally their job. So I think it's an important conversation to have, but also we can take a step back from it and remember that like we can talk to people in the real world as well.
Do we have any further comments regarding this discussion topic? Ace Chair Mystic, can we get a mic down, please? Thank you.
I'm gonna be a little preachy right now, just because I have felt moved. I just feel like we should all also learn from this to not also put it on the professors, I guess, because at the end of the day, it took multiple students to, you know, speak up and say that this was not okay and make basically our professor come in the middle of class and apologize to all of us, you know, and obviously that's not enough, but you know, I just want everyone to understand that like as leaders on campus, we also have to set the tone. And so like if, you know, if something were to happen in class, God forbid, you know, say something about it. Or like if you can't physically have the emotion to do it, you know, ask someone else to take up that work for you. But it's still important work because at the end of the day, it's gonna affect somebody. Not if it's not affecting you, it could affect somebody or whatever. Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or more so comments regarding this discussion topic? Seeing none, we are going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is not on the screen, but it's on the agenda, and it is a discussion on the SMS voting at Student Senate. President Becker. Could we get a mic to President Becker, please? Thank you.
Yeah. So this came out of a discussion. This has been a long-going discussion. So we've been doing clickers this is the third year. And so I guess first year I haven't done them, but I did them for 2 years. They're pretty cumbersome. I really hate being like dependent on ITS for this platform. I think it's really valuable because when we send out the minutes afterwards, we can show who voted how. Whereas before that, from like my first year and then beyond backwards, it was just the raw numbers. So there's like no accountability from your constituencies to the senators, and I think that's valuable. Issue being, each one of those clickers costs $50. So an entire set costs like $1,500, which is absurd. And so I don't think SGA should pay for that. But at the same time, I don't like this idea that, especially now that the campus council's on the student senate is on Sundays. It's really annoying to have to think like that far ahead. You know, last semester I could just hit go grab on Wednesdays, or everybody could go grab on Wednesdays, and it was fine. But so I'm trying to think of a way we can move forward. There are no clicker, or they call them class response systems. There aren't any that are like financially viable for SGA, and nor do we need all the functionality that those provide. But the idea of SMS voting came up this weekend from trustee stuff. And I want to see what you all think. I think the concern that discussion with CAB has brought is that it's possible that international students might not have domestic SIM cards, which could prove to be difficult, or might not have access to the internet or cell phones. And so that's something we could work around, but I just kind of want to see if anyone has any ideas on this, because I'm kind of stuck. But I don't want to, I prefer SGA to maintain its autonomy, and I don't like this dependency on ITS infrastructure, so. Well, I'm curious to see if anyone has any thoughts.
Thank you. Technical advisor Addison.
So most of the services that offer SMS voting also have some sort of an online platform. So even if they didn't have a domestic SIM card, they could just log on online and use that interface. But also, do these services usually offer like where you would also have your name going in along with your submission, just so like we would also continue to have the accountability and like seeing who voted for what?
That's good. I think if this is an option that the Senate is interested in pursuing, that's something that I, in conjunction with Addison, can look into if we think that's a viable route to take. But I'm sure there's some tie between either phone number or username, so that we'll be able to figure that out. I wouldn't be opposed to paying for a platform. I'm just opposed to paying $1,500 for like basic clickers. Alternatively, because I know we all kind of want to get out of here, if anyone has any ideas, just email me. We can just do that in our discussion.
Or email me.
Yeah. But yeah, let's just do that so we can all get out of here. But if anyone has ideas, please feel free to send that our way. It's something I'm looking forward to kind of getting a yes.
All right, thank you. Do we have any further comments or questions? No, seeing none, we are going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is an update on the Board of Trustees. President Becker.
Since I was just talking, I'll go first. So updates on the board meeting as a whole. They voted to keep me blind for the next 3 years. So that was pretty exciting. We also got a new college seal, which is exciting. No, it's the same seal we've had since 1968, but we've never voted on it. But now it's official. In terms of other things that happened, just some general notes. If anyone, this is something. So I know a lot of people were interested in the divestiture movement from last spring and the board's subsequent response to form a committee towards sustainability from that. We had 12 hours in the last 2 days of retreat with the facilities committee, so that was awesome. It's been my life for like 4 days. But there was a lot of really great stuff that came out of that. Some things that I didn't know. The HUSSC is the greenest building that we built by a fairly substantial margin. It's going to have a green roof. It's got all LEDs internally. There's a lot of really awesome statistics that Chris Bear out of FM gave us in a presentation that I'm really excited about. Additionally, we've got a new CIO.
Point of privilege, please refrain from making noises as someone is speaking. Thank you.
We've got a new chief investment officer, and he just started within like the last month, so he's kind of breathing into his position. But one of like his top, it's like either number one or like top 3 goals is shareholder activism, and making sure that that he upholds that and working towards more sustainable avenues for the fossil fuels organizations that we're invested in. Yeah, a third of the board stayed an extra day for this retreat. This is not something that in the 4 years that I've been here, the board's never done a retreat like this. So I think that was really exciting. I think they're all really excited to see the direction we're trending in. I think there are a lot of, well, we talked for a long time about how long it would take for us to reach carbon neutrality. I think the board has been making like independent moves towards carbon neutrality, whether that's offsetting the emissions they make by traveling here collectively or other means. But they talked at length about how many years it would take for us to reach that level of sustainability, specifically for on campus. I think less than 15 years was their response, somewhere between 10 to 15 years. There were a lot of discussions on that. I think it looks like there's a lot of variables at play in the next 10 to 15 years, playing into like who provides our electricity, whether that's Mid-American or Alliant. There's just like so much logistics. But I was really impressed. As a student who, going into this position, was fairly pessimistic about the board and their tendency to listen to students. They value student input very highly. This is high on their list of priorities. They want to see carbon neutrality and beyond for Grinnell. And I think I'm really excited. Reynard and I have talked about kind of putting out an update, because we received a massive update between me and the facilities committee on what the college has done in the wake of that and what they intend to do with the formation of this new committee, which they intend will convene before Thanksgiving. But I think as we get closer to that first meeting, Reynard and I will send out an email kind of all the stuff the college has done in preparation for this and kind of what our goals are for the future in terms of sustainability. So I was really excited about it. I think that was great. I think the retreat went well. In addition to that, there was a lot of investigation into the forum and Burling as spaces and kind of what the future of those spaces will look like. That was pretty big. If anyone has any questions on that, feel free to email me and I can kind of fill you in. I think there's just like a lot of accessibility issues with the forum, but which is obvious, it's A-levels, it's terrible. But the alumni base is really passionate about that building, and so there's this kind of disconnect between its functionality, where it's not serving the function it was built to do, but it's kind of sucks. So they've been talking about that. I'm sure Riley can discuss more about what academic comments is in their discussion around that. Additionally, we're going into our first big capital campaign in the last, I think it's been over 20 years since we've done this, and so attempting to kind of eliminate some of the debt that's accrued because of the HUSSC and prepare in terms of infrastructure-wise for our next one after this to fund the renovation of dorms / forum / Burling. And so that was a big thing from my standpoint on advanced committee. But yeah, no, I mean, I've got just a gazillion notes, and it was, I worked like 38 hours this week, which is off. I mean, it was just a lot. So if you have more questions about any of this, I'd be happy to talk to you. I was really excited about how it went, and I'm really looking forward to this school year. So yeah, if Riley, you usually want to kind of tap in on their.
Can we get a mic to VPAA Murphy?
All right, so there are a lot of updates. I'm going to start with the most boring and try to go to the more exciting ones. The AFA was renamed to the Admissions and Student Financial Services Building, the ASFS. It's going to now include also like the cashier's office. So it's going to be like your one-stop shop for like the things you need, and also it's going to free up a little bit more space in the JCC for CLS to be moving into there eventually. Students are branching out more. Good job on taking classes outside of your divisions. We're at like an all-time high for that, so congrats. We floated the concept of leasing Bob's to Saints Rest, and people are pretty cool with it. We don't really know if there's going to be some like horrible hurdle that stands in our way on this process, but like let's sure hope not. Other than that, I had a conversation with Dave Robinson about expanding the technical advisor position and using the SGA office as a staging room for new technology. So that would be hopefully pretty cool to get like some new TVs in there for free, and in the future like things like 3D scanners and printers that we may be able to have the first like publicly student available ones in the SGA offices. Also, the Institute for Global Engagement is working on a global studies major. I think that's something that people have been excited about as sort of an expansion of things that American studies looks into and on a global scale. I think this is something that's a really exciting project that student input is very much being looked for. So if you have thoughts, please email Shuchi Kapila, who is kind of spearheading this project. As you heard, Need Blind passed again. It was nearly unanimous. Patricia Finkelman, the chair of the board, referred to it as like an important aspect of Grinnell identity. Their trustees really like Need Blind. They think it's really, really important, regardless of articles that Ray Kay may write about it. Yeah, the Forum and Burling totally suck. They're horrible buildings, and they're made of concrete, and so it sucks to take them down, too. So we'll see. They're really expensive to deal with. I had this horrible meeting just looking at spreadsheets on spreadsheets of costs that it's going to take for maintenance of Forum and Burling. It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars in the next 20 years to just maintain these buildings that are horrible. And another really exciting thing, I think this is like the best thing that I heard this weekend, was that the Dean of Health and Wellness, a new position that they're looking for that will be kind of like an overseer of Shacks and More. They are looking for someone who will be doing like a counseling, medical and nursing support, and like preventative care / self-care support. And they are looking for an active psychiatrist. I think this is a really big thing. I tried to give as much praise for this as possible. I think this is something that we can still hope for. Please talk to, if you can, please email Sarah Motion Ross about this. I don't know who the candidates are. I don't know if they're all active psychiatrists, but I really want to emphasize that this is a big opportunity for Grinnell College and for the Grinnell community. So please, if you can, talk to Sarah Motion Ross and express your support for a qualified candidate for this position. I think that's all for my updates.
Can we please get a mic down to Concert Chair Christensen before we move on to VPSA Tombu's update?
Sorry, this is really quick because I don't think this is very common knowledge, but currently the only psychiatric care that Grinnell offers is through the telepsych, and that medical professional is not actually a trained psychiatrist. They are a physician's assistant, and that's their level of education. So this is a really big deal. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, could we get a mic down to VPSA Tombu for her trustee update? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I had one committee meeting this weekend, and it was basically where the board of trustee members decided on their recommendation for the need blind policy, and they voted to continue this policy because, first of all, it aligns with our moral / our mission as a college, and they really wanted to stick to that. Something interesting that was mentioned was that they really want to increase the amount of full paying students, and I think it was by 10 students every year, or within 10 years, I think. Yeah. What else? Another thing that they were talking about during this meeting was how they would reach important stakeholders. So for example, parents / high school counselors, so they can draw in more students that they want. And so the board was intentionally figuring out various different events they could hold in order to draw out these various different groups.
Can we please get a mic down to, is this directly related to what VPSA Tombu just said?
Related.
Directly related? Okay, then could we get a mic down to Senator Zernig?
Just out of curiosity, were there any discussions on the need aware policy for international students brought up during?
Can we get a mic down to VPSA Tombu, please?
my committee meeting, I asked them about it, and they're basically saying that basically the international student population draws in a lot of revenue, and after they made that policy, like they had an increase of revenue, and so I don't think that's going to change for them, at least from my understanding of how the conversation went.
Feepa Murphy?
Two things. One, like that also they talked about how I guess like the way they establish like how much need a student needs like has demonstrated is like very specific, and also apparently very specific to domestic students. So I think it also is just interesting to note that not only like are they assessing the need of international students in their considerations, but that they also had talked about how they're like bad at assessing the need of international students. So yeah, I think that that's just another problem. But also the second thing, Khadijah's being very modest right now. Khadijah gave a presentation to that committee, which from all accounts was fantastic. So I just want to like give Khadijah a quick round of applause because that was pretty intense.
Another thing on that, they also discussed specifically Chinese students and full-paying Chinese students, because apparently majority of them are like full-paying. They discussed the idea of like increasing that population. However, it was like kind of like tabled, but that's something for future discussions. They recommend not to do it though, as of right now, but it's still.
All right, do we have any further comments? Can we get a mic down to President Becker, please?
Yeah, I think this will be an ongoing discussion, I'm sure, for the rest of our term and then into many terms. There were several goals that they've had for about the last 5 years that they were hoping to get closer to with this most recent cohort that they are not achieving. So I think there's going to be a lot of reanalysis of how much student tuition, student payment goes into the annual expenditure of the college. So I think that'll be going forward. But tangential to that, I forgot to mention this. Reynard told the trustees that SGA was doing very well this year. I think that was pretty nice. I was really happy to hear that. I was really proud of my coworkers and proud to be involved in this organization. And board leadership in meeting with SGA execs said they were very impressed with our goals and where we want to take SGA this year. And so I think that was pretty cool. That was reassuring. So yeah, no, so I'm proud to work with all of you, and I'm really excited to report back to them on the progress that we make this semester when they come back in February.
Wonderful. Do you have any further comments regarding this update? Treasurer Ercolani. Can we get a mic to Treasurer Ercolani, please? Thank you.
I'd just like to note that Amanda and I also went to trustee committees. Amanda and I are a part of the audit and assessment and finance committees, which is all the money stuff. Don't want to keep people later than they have to, so if you have any questions about the state of the college budget, the debt service, the accreditation process, or the Clifton Larson Allen audit report, let us know.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anything more to add to this update? Any further comments, questions, concerns? No, seeing none. We're going to move into the cabinet reports. For the sake of time, does anyone have anything they want to add? Councilor Chair Christensen, can we get a mic down, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to report really quickly that we had 2 concerts yesterday, one in the afternoon and one in the evening, or at night, and they both went really well. And we have another concert this Saturday. It's both, which are 2 rappers from Omaha, and Misonjix, which is a group based out of Chicago. It's kind of like R&B, indie, and it's gonna be really good. That's all.
Thank you. Does anyone else on cabinet have anything to add? Just so you all know, these reports are, they're not confidential, so they're going to be they're on the agenda, they're on the minutes. Services Chair Tibatumala, can we get a mic down? Thank you.
Yeah, this is really quick. I wrote up there, I was away till Saturday afternoon. I was away till Sunday afternoon. And that's why Quinn had to lead services SBC this week.
Thank you. All right, anything else to add? No, seeing none. VPSA Toby?
Really quick, this week I'm going to be having a meeting with Joe about relating towards dining services and their kind of response to everything that I gave them about students. So if you guys have any more suggestions, problems, let me know relating towards dining services.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add? Speak now or hold your peace until next week? No? All right. The adjourning motion. I saw Senator Stallings. Thank you for seconding that. All those in favor of closing Student Senate for tonight, say yeah. All those opposed, say no. All those abstaining, say yeah. All right. Student Senate has concluded. Thank you all for your time and patience. See you again next week. Have a happy week. Keep the clickers. Awesome.